Hello and welcome back to Open Source Workplace. I'm very glad to welcome back Cristina Herrera. Cristina, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you? I'm great. How's everything going today?
Everything's going very well, very well. How are you coping with lockdown? Everything's still good? You still feeling well? Everyone good and healthy?
I'm well. It's going pretty smooth actually. I'm really finding my mojo. I'm getting into the swing of things. If anything, I've been more productive than I've ever been in my life, which is very strange.
But we're telling people that, Cristina, come on, come on. But that's good. That's good. That means you're busy, and that means there's a lot of conversation around workplace strategy.
Absolutely.
I got to test everyone that I know of is speaking about it, and obviously you're having those conversations too. And so one of the things we want to do with this series is sort of break down what is workplace strategy, which we discussed in the last video, but then as we start to work through a program, what does that look like? And sort of start at the very beginning, right? What are the key data points that an organization needs to bring to the table as they start a workplace strategy program?
Okay, great question. So let's talk workplace strategy. What I might do is just mention the definition that I gave in the last video for those who haven't watched it. So what I explained is that workplace strategy is a data-driven process and practice that's aimed at aligning your spatial workplace and workplace experience as it relates to people, process, and place to your corporate strategy. And that's really important to remember, that it's aligning it to the corporate strategy. Before we dive into the data collection, I think we need to start where it counts, which is at corporate strategy. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I really think it's important. And so I've got here a quote from Woody Allen, because I think I want to get it right. So you've probably heard this quote: "If you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans." Everyone's heard about that quote. Um, but you can find a very similar situation here as it applies to business. Your corporate strategy is key in any organization. That has to be true. That's true for any effective organization. And any business plan, business strategy, whether it's a marketing plan, a workforce plan, a workplace strategy, it needs to align to the corporate strategy if it's going to be effective. So thanks, Woody Allen, for that quote. The corporate strategy really dictates the mission of the organization and its differentiator. It's those two things that all other decisions in an organization will be made upon. So the priorities, who they hire, how they represent themselves, the clients they go after, the people they serve, how they want to scale, innovate, how they respond to internal and external factors, that's all dictated by corporate strategy. So for this reason, the workplace strategy needs to be first and foremost informed by the corporate strategy. Your workplace strategist needs to understand what that strategy is and where you're going. So that's a little bit of the background on corporate strategy. Circling back to workplace strategy. So your strategist needs to understand your values, your culture, how your people work, how they do their best work, the types of interactions that happens between people, between their people and their managers or and their leaders, how people mentor each other or exchange information, and how they work with their clients. So again, it's people, process, technology. I think where it gets a little bit tough is determining what the best way to collect this data, how am I going to collect this data? What's the best way? What's the best input? But regardless of what you choose, my rule of thumb is that for every one piece of quantitative data, you should have two pieces of qualitative data. And there's various reasons for this, but my reason is because you need to try your best to weed out any misconceptions, human error, perception. You need to validate that data. It's very easy to go off data when it's telling you something you want to hear or you want to see, but it might not be exactly what it's showing.
Sorry to interrupt you just there. So what is the best form of qualitative data, you think?
So I've done a lot of observation and sensor type work.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the accuracies with sensor data. I do prefer observation. So going through and recording what people are doing, what types of interactions they're having. There is always going to be a change in behavior when you tell your staff that there is data being collected, and you need to tell them. That change in behavior is expected. And for that reason, when you're collecting the data, you need to make sure that you are not being too obvious, not getting in people's way too much, in people's business too much, but close enough to see whether they're using paperwork, whether they're using their laptops, whether they're bringing their own device and using that, whether they're having social conversations in the cafe or whether it's all work related.
Mm. Great, thank you. Sorry for interrupting your train of thought. I just wanted to dig in to understand that. Thank you.
No, that's good. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have this example that I share a lot at engagements. I was collecting that types of observation data for a client because they had also conducted some sensor data. And the sensor data had been telling them that one particular meeting room was either always in use or there was always a line outside of people waiting to use it. So the facilities team said, look, this one's really, really popular. We need to encourage collaboration. People collaborate in meeting rooms. Something about this room is successful. The technology, the layout, the environment, HVAC, whatever that is. So what they wanted to do was model all meeting rooms on this meeting room. So I thought, okay, well, we've got that data, but we need two other forms of data. We need to do something else to validate that. So what I did was just ad hoc observations. Walked around, met people, and the funniest thing happened. So what I found is when I walked around the floor, the funniest person in the firm, this woman, sat right outside the door of that meeting room. And she was drawing a crowd every lunch. Every lunch
Wow,
she was drawing a crowd. Anytime she went out to go and get coffee, people would follow her back to her desk, continue a conversation. She was hilarious.
that's brilliant.
But when you think about it,
Yeah.
they were going to spend thousands, maybe even millions of dollars on technology and furniture to lay out every single meeting room on this conference room that had nothing to do with why it became a hotspot.
Mm-hmm.
How
That's
amazing is
brilliant.
that?
That is so good. That's so good. Well done, you. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't know where you were going with that at all. I thought it was a great surprise. Oh man, that's really good. I love
Yeah.
it. Yes.
So I think, the data collection process is so important during workplace strategy. It's really going to help the strategists understand, which direction you want to go on, from a traditional to a free address or agile scale, where you sit and why. And also remembering to always go back to that corporate strategy. In making these decisions, you're going back to say, hold on, does this align? Is this going to create those environments we need for our people to innovate or to develop new service lines or whatever that strategy or direction is? So workplace strategy, I mean, it's fantastic because it really informs spatially, how are we going to lay out our workplace? How are we going to help our designers design a floor plan and experiences within the workplace that helps people be at their best?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely, that's the whole point of it, right? Productivity. That's exactly what you're saying. And I'm gonna throw you a curveball here. So if we're in an environment where the office isn't being utilized as we're in the moment, and we have teams that are coming back and someone will continue to work from home, how do you think about productivity and the integration of that, the workplace and the work from home setting being an extension of that?
So I do think there's going to have to be some investment in ergonomic setup for working from home. Ultimately, organizations need to think about A, their corporate strategy, B, what does productivity actually look like? What are our
Mm-hmm.
employees doing or talking about or thinking about? What is that productivity moment? How do we capture that? and how do we encourage that? So
Mm,
if some employees are more productive at home, they're able to be effective at home and service their clients and customers from home, then why not? Um, the investment to help set them up at home to do their best work is going to be minuscule compared to dragging people in the office where they are slightly less productive.
right, right, right. Thank you. Well answered. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yep.
So what I wanted to touch on as well is I know you and I had been discussing the different discussions as well that we've been having around COVID-19 and new strategies that might be coming up.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I'm getting a lot of questions around, well, as a strategist and change manager, I'm getting questions as well around furniture and finishes, which is a really important discussion to have. But not exactly my area of expertise. But this shows me one thing. It's showing me that more than ever, we need to think about the workplace holistically. The whole human experience, from the minute they leave, the employee leaves their home, to their experience coming through the door, whether there are sensors, whether there are temperature controls, what people are physically touching, the conference room tables, people touching that
Mm-hmm.
every single day. But people probably don't realize how important a conference room table is. So those conversations are really inspiring me to continue reaching out to people who are potentially slightly outside of my usual network,
Right.
to see, what are those synergies? What do we need to do differently?
Yeah, no, the table, I hadn't even thought about the table. The fact of, and maybe it's a case we have to go to those tables actually are the fingerless surface, so that they don't actually collect the bacteria of people's hands. And I went through the whole thing of, the iPads at the front of conference rooms. How do you do that going forward? What about the
Mm.
iPad? It's actually on the center of the console that starts every meeting. Do we now then have to instigate Siri, Google, Alexa, whoever, to actually start all those different things? So these are great points. And to your right, there are so many wheels, or so many streets that we all have to navigate through to actually find that holistic approach.
Hmm.
So that's really interesting. Glad you brought that to the table, literally. That was really bad. I know. I'm sorry. I
It was a little
apologize.
cheesy, but that's
I
okay.
couldn't. I couldn't resist it. I couldn't resist it. But no, that is great. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap it up?
I mean, the only thing I would say is try to take this as an opportunity to really rethink how you can make your biggest asset front and center. And that asset is, they're the people that are driving your business. They're the people that um, they have values that align to your business values. They're in it with you. So I know it can be a time where, as a business owner, you might be very fearful about the direction that this is going in, your business staying afloat, but also remember that your employees are here with you and they want to be, and they want you to be successful. They believe in you. So, as you think about your corporate strategy, think about those employees, think about maybe what they can contribute to help you find the new direction.
That's perfect. A beautiful way to finish it. Well said. Christina, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.